I did leave my job. And for me, leaving the job was absolutely necessary. But during my nearly 1 year sabbatical, I realized that leaving the job alone wasn't the only fix, because I realized that if I went back into corporate America as the same woman that I was when I left, I would be recreating those same patterns, those same beliefs, those same movements. So in today's video, I want to go a little bit deeper into that because yes, leaving the job was a part of the story, but it was not the whole story. And before we get started, as I shared in yesterday's video, I'm getting over a cold. So I have my tissue here in case my nose starts to run, and I have my tea. But I just want to really get into this conversation today and go just a little bit deeper, because leaving my corporate 6-figure, 5-figure bonuses, the title, the success, all of the things, leaving was absolutely necessary for me. And I'm not telling anyone to stay in harmful or toxic workplaces. And I'm also not telling anyone to quit their job. You and everyone else has to figure out what's best for you. I'm sharing my story because I don't want to pretend that automatically leaving the job just made me all brand new. Like just leaving the job alone was the only fix, was this miraculous new thing. And my sabbatical gave me the space and the time to realize that I've shared this in multiple videos before on this 100-day journey that I'm showing up here every day on YouTube, that, excuse me, let me get a little bit more cozy, that my sabbatical was nearly a year. I took nearly 10 months off to just heal, get clear, rest my mind, my body after being in a workplace that just demanded so much from me mentally, physically, emotionally. I was burnt to a crisp, girl, and it was manifesting in me in many ways. And again, I've talked about this in more detail in other videos, but I was 60 pounds overweight. I was taking 2 types of anxiety medications just to go to work. I was so disconnected from myself. I didn't even really know who I was anymore, but I was still doing, I was still progressing, leading, executing. I was still doing all the things. I was still doing well in my job, but I was deep in the corporate brain rot. I was deep in it, girl. Level 10 corporate brain rot. And during my sabbatical, it gave me the space that I needed to see how much my identity, and if I'm honest, like my worth, was tied into my work. Just giving myself that time, it allowed me to see that. I was able to see how often I was abandoning myself, how often I was not taking care of myself, how often I was prioritizing other people, places, things, projects above myself to be more responsible, more capable, more impressive, more dependable. Like that space during my sabbatical gave me the time to realize that. And I talked about this on other videos too. I think a lot of us as women, especially if you identify as driven or ambitious in some way, like our identities and our worth are so intermingled and tied and like locked up into these jobs that we really don't know who we are outside of them. And my sabbatical allowed me to see that space allowed me to see that in me. And as I said, yes, the job had issues. It had a lot of issues. just the demands of the work. I was managing and leading a very large medical facility, a big team. The place was open 7 days a week, so that means I had to be available in some capacity if someone needed me, if something went wrong. So the lines between like work and home were very blurred. Like there were definitely things about the job, but I also had patterns that if I did not address them, I would have carried them back into another job when after my sabbatical, when I was ready to go back to work. If I didn't address those things, and some of them like over functioning. I know we hear that word a lot in the last few years, like just overdoing everything, over functioning, overworking. Again, I made a whole video, multiple videos about not checking in with myself, not listening to my body, not giving myself, my body, my mind, my spirit what it needed. Saying yes to everything or too fast, because if I'm honest, sometimes I feel like many of us feel like it's like, no, we're not forced to say yes, but it feels like you have to say yes, especially if you're at a certain level or you're trying to achieve a certain thing. So just saying yes, raising your hand for everything and letting achievement and success be a signal that everything is okay, letting me know that, hey, I got this 5-figure bonus this year. So, hey, this is just the cost of success. This is just the cost of achievement. How many people are getting, 5-figure bonuses? And I remember when I was during my season of burnout, and, I was with a previous partner, and we both had very similar mindsets. We were both just very driven and both just very focused on our careers. And I remember, like, to this day, he kind of said the same thing to me. Like, when I started kind of vocalizing like how I was feeling at work, he was just kind of like that's the cost of success. Like, everybody just believes like that's the cost of success. It's almost like, girl, why are you complaining? This is what it requires. And like I said too, just ignoring my body. I was 60 pounds overweight. Girl, like, if I showed you pictures from back during that time, I was unrecognizable. I've never had any issues my whole life with weight. But during my sabbatical, I was 60 pounds overweight, and I just chopped it up to, I'm getting older. This is what the girl said, happens when you get older. You start putting on weight, but not listening to my body, that was the burnout and just everything that my body was experiencing. And the way I was not taking care of myself, eating a certain way, drinking alcohol, wine. It was just a lot. And I just had to realize that I could not take all of that I just described back with me into corporate America when I was ready to go back to work. My sabbatical gave me the space to do that. And it was very necessary for me, because again, what I came to realize is like, yes, you experience these things. Yes, these things are true. However, and if you want things to be different, you cannot be that same woman, period. And particularly when you're ready to go back into corporate America, you have to change some things about yourself. So I just want to, just mention that, like, yes, the job that you might be experiencing might have its issues for sure. But if you're honest with yourself and you dig a little bit deeper, you have to ask yourself what parts need to change about you. Like all the things I just named. Like, What are you taking on more? How are you abandoning yourself? How are you not giving yourself what you need? Do you even know what you need? Are you listening to your body when you're in certain environments? Like, something about yourself will have to change, because if you take you into that next job, you will find you there. So I was just very clear on that. So before I went back into corporate America, I had decided who I wanted to become, the woman I wanted to become, and who I was going to be, just holistically, generally. And again, the woman that I wanted to become. And I wanted, I wasn't going to do this, in a big, loud way. Everything I do was very quiet, very aligned, very intentional, all the things that I'm doing right now. And I just wanted to be more honest about where I was, how the things I desire, how I wanted to work and live. I wanted to be more honest. I wanted to be more aware. I wanted to be more intentional. I wanted to be more connected with myself. And those are all the things that I was able to do during my sabbatical. When I was ready to go back into corporate America, I was very crystal clear on everything. Again, how I wanted to feel, the type of work I wanted to do, how I wanted to use my skills, my education, the type of impact that I wanted to make, the type of environments that I wanted to work in. I even got so clear, I journaled about the type of leader that I wanted to report to. I got clear on even my colleagues, just the whole environment, because all of that really matters. And particularly the thing with yourself, because you can only control you. So just getting really clear on what your values are, how you want to work, how you want to feel, the type of impact you want to make. And when I went, into that next job, all of those things were met. Of course, as things change, it's life. Life changes, things change, business needs change, leadership changes. That role is in a place now that there is some misalignment brewing there, but I'm acutely aware, and I'm already making, pivots to move accordingly. You know what I mean? So it's all about knowing what you desire, finding environments like that. And when you get in an environment, continuing to check in with yourself, because things do change. You don't want to get back in that space of the corporate brain rot. You've done all of this work to get clear on how you want to work and live, and you're in this next best job or career or whatever that may be, and things start to change and you don't notice it, and then you fall back into the same trap. So that's where that checking in with yourself continuously has to be an ongoing thing, because like I said before, things change, business needs change, leadership changes. We're in 2026 right now. Things are rapidly changing, advancements with AI, how people work, things change. So just continuing to check in with yourself to be like, okay, I see some shifts coming. I see some changes coming. Does this still work for me? And if not, start devising a plan for yourself, an exit strategy for yourself to move into what you feel is the next best situation, job, career for you, even if it's creating something for you on the side, like I'm doing. There's just so many opportunities, especially for women like you. If you're watching this video, you know how to do, you know how to lead, you know how to execute. That's really not the issue. It's about really getting clear on the things that you desire and then making aligned, intentional steps towards that. So before you only ask, do I need a new job? Ask, who am I becoming in this one? Again, that's that regular checking in with yourself. You have to think beyond the job And again, look inward as well. And like I said, I'm definitely not here telling anybody to stay in toxic or harmful work environments. I'm also not telling anyone to quit their jobs. What I'm saying in this video is that when I left my job, I also had to face myself. So I did not stay that same person that was in that previous job. And it's not easy. It takes a lot of work to sit with yourself and to be honest with yourself. And that's why a lot of people avoid this type of work, but it's definitely necessary. And you also have to ask yourself, if I leave, what parts of me do I need to stop bringing with me? That's something that you need to ponder on. And honestly, that's the kind of work that I had to just sit with. And that's why I created the Ambition Reset. Again, it's a 7-day audio experience. It's just that space to give you to just have a moment to start checking in with yourself, to call out some of those blind spots, to see where you're off at, and not to just notice it, but show you what to do in the moment so you can check in with yourself in that moment and know how to proceed to move forward instead of waiting months, quarters, even years to catch up on it, ultimately like I had to do. So leaving that space, I had to do it. I had to do it. It was the best thing that I've ever done. I would do it again if I had to. But the real work was deciding I was no longer going to abandon myself. I was no longer going to put my health and wellness at risk. I was no longer going to just do things just for the success or the achievement, just because I had become good at surviving a particular way of living. I wasn't going to do that anymore. So let me know if any of this resonated with you. Let me know down in the comments. Give this video a like. As we come down, today's video is day 90. Oh my goodness. So we are going live. I'm going live on day 100, and that falls on Sunday, May 17th. So just stay tuned about what I'm going to talk about. I'm still kind of deciding, but I'm narrowing it down to a few things. I'm definitely going to talk about some of the observations I've had over this 100 days, particularly with you and others who have commented on the videos. There's definitely some patterns that I'm seeing. So I'm definitely going to talk about that. If you've missed any of the other conversations I've had on this 100-day journey, I've linked them down, and I've linked the playlist down in the description box. Again, give this video a like, and I will talk to you tomorrow. I'm Erica Prevail, and I share daily conversations helping ambitious women rework their relationship with ambition, capacity, rest, and creativity. And I'll talk to you tomorrow, girl. Bye.